Okay, welcome everybody to the town board meeting of Tuesday, November 28th, 2017. Start off with some announcements. This Friday from 5:30 to 8:30, wine around town. Spend an evening with the Chapel Millwood Chamber of Commerce and friends. Wine tasting courtesy of local merchants. Swirl, sniff, sip, and enjoy. Several merchants in Chapel will host wine tastings from different regions in their shops. Take a look around the store and get some holiday shopping done while you taste. What Fresh Hell Live? I don't know if you said that with the right emphasis, but comedians Margaret Abels and Amy Wilson bring their hit parenting podcast, What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood, to a live audience December 1st, Friday night, 8 to 10 at the Chap Pack. The Northern Westchester Artists Guild, the annual art show and boutique. This year it's being held at the Greeley House, and that is on Friday from 4 to 8 p.m., on Saturday from 12 to 8 p.m., and on Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. As well, on Saturday, December 2nd, we have the Community Sing and Holiday Crafts, which is tree lighting at the Greeley House, and that's 3:30 to 8:30. There's some activities for the kids from 4:30 to 6:30, and then the holiday tree lighting starts around 5 o'clock. And this Sunday, Empty Bowls Westchester to fight hunger in Westchester County. That's December 3rd, Sunday from 5 to 8 at Crabtree's Kittle House, which is a new location this year. Okay, on to the supervisory report. After 40 years of police service, Lieutenant John Vise is retiring. Tomorrow is his last day. Lieutenant Vise and his family are proud and active members of law enforcement. He's been with Newcastle Police Department since 1981. He's been in the police working before that, City of Mount Vernon and Town of Greenberg. So it's 40 years of service. He's with us for 36 of those years. He's been a member of the Police Emerald Society of Westchester for all 40 years. He was a co-founder and the president of the affiliated police associations of Westchester County, and he was also the Newcastle PBA president for 13 years. He's also in charge of President Bill Clinton and Governor Andrew Cuomo, their security detail. So I wish him and his family luck in his retirement and all of their future endeavors. Railroad crossing safety. There's a new system in place at the Railroad Brook Road grade crossing. It was activated on November 20th. There was a nixle that was sent out. I think it's just they're testing a system. Essentially what happens if a car is stopped basically in between the gates, and the gates don't even have to be down, if the car is in there for 3 to 5 seconds, the system will activate saying, warning, get off the tracks.
Wasn't that going off?
Yes,
wasn't there an
it
issue
was.
with that people weren't moving?
The other day it was going off on without it, just going off.
Not to smile and smirk, but it was not.
It was my wife who advised me of it, and you can imagine that conversation. But whatever. So they have some kinks to work out. But basically, then if you're still on the tracks, the flashing lights will be activated, and then there is something that actually goes to the train. If a train is coming, they actually get warning, and which is a good thing. And so the train, I guess, can start to stop if necessary. So what else do we got? Millwood Sewers, we're going to have our presentation, Woodard and Curran. That'll be on, I guess, December 11th now, which is a Monday. I think, have we agreed to change it to Monday?
I think we're waiting to hear.
Waiting from
Oh, okay.
me, but I would expect yes.
So the meeting will either be Monday, December 11th, or
I'd expect
Tuesday,
December
December 12th. Tuesday, December 12th is the first night of Hanukkah, so we may change it to Monday, December 11th.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
So tonight, we're opening the public hearings for 2018 preliminary budget. We hope to vote on the budget on December 12th, or December 11th. Let me change that date as well. And let's see, the preliminary budget contemplates an increase in the levy by 1.06%, which is less than 1/3 of the amount allowable under the tax cap this year. The tax increase is $23 per average household. We added another $100,000 to our paving budget, bringing it to $922,000. and we've maintained 25,000 for beautification. It can be found on the website at the very top. There's a link for the 2018 preliminary budget to make it easy to find. We're also opening the public hearings for a bond issuance. As I mentioned many times, the bond issuance and the corresponding debt service have no effect on the tax levy or tax rates. We intend to use fund balance to pay for the capital costs. And I think we took the Minkle Dam out of it. We talked about that. We have some secret stuff to take care of. And so basically for the Hamlet Streetscape project, it's close to 14 million. We have some heavy equipment for DPW from 2014, 300,000, about 600,000 from 2015, 2016, about 570. Replace some fuel tanks for $500,000. Gedney Park, which was already installed, we were going to reimburse ourselves 143,000. A lot of these costs we already paid for, but we go out to bond in one shot to reduce the transaction costs, and we just repay ourselves because we have the fund balance to pay for it. The basketball court inclusive playground, that's 258,000. IT infrastructure, this one is as least sexy as it can get, 800,000 for that. And the Wallace Auditorium, 150,000. So that's it for the supervisor's report. On to the town administrator's report with Jill Shapiro.
Thank you. Real quickly, just a reminder about leaf blowers. They are not allowed before 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, and not before 9 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you could just remember that and remind anyone who might be taking care of your lawn to be considerate of our neighbors. Our holiday lights are up in Millwood, and they're being completed in Chappaqua. Chappaqua snowflakes will be up by Friday. Our tree wraps in the triangle were turned on right before Thanksgiving. The exterior of the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center is being painted tomorrow, and that completes the outside replacement of fascia board and soffits and all-around sort of facelift for the building. And our DPW is ready for winter. All the plows have been installed, and our salt dome is full. And last but not least, as of January 1st, 2018, Santa Pro will no longer pick up resident recyclables if they're left in plastic bags. So there will be a full educational push by.
Say that one more time, please.
So you can't put your
Why is that?
recyclables in plastic bags. They have to be in a
Bin?
Part of a new contract?
No, it has to do with the fact those plastic bags have not been. Surprisingly, the plastic bags themselves are not recyclable, and so they taint the entire shipment of recyclables. There are single stream recycling that go through. So so bins, garbage cans, just leave them out. Next meeting, there is a sticker, an oops sticker, bright green, that Santa Pro would like the town board to look at. It's going to be.
Did you help them design that, Rob?
No, actually, I don't think he did.
but
They're
I
going
do
to
like
put it
it,
on the
though.
I'm
bags as a
making fun
warning for it, not a warning, but like an educational to alert residents that they're not going to be able to pick up anymore. So we're going to try to do an educational push over the next month or so and let people know.
So just to confirm, the plastic recycle bags
Are not
The
Cannot
clear
be
ones,
used.
the clear ones that we boy that say
or the blue ones
say recycle
are
bags.
not recyclable.
Paper bags, like
Yeah.
shopping bags.
Yeah, I mean, you could leave it in paper. It's the same difference. Okay, but that's going to be the next big push. So just to give everybody a heads up.
So when they say it disqualifies, don't they just go and rip the bags open?
No, they're going to actually leave it curbside, and you're going to have to take it.
No, but currently, what do they do with the bags?
I'm not genuinely sure.
I think
We-
it clogs the machine. That's
No,
what they're
no, I know, but I'm assuming somebody sits there with an X-Acto knife and just cuts it open and dumps the stuff out.
I don't know.
When does this start? I'm sorry. I have to
As of January 1.
January. We should make sure people understand that.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of unhappy people, I'm sure, that post-New Year, you're going to be like, wait a second, my bottles of wine and champagne are not getting recycled?
We should send out an alert just to
Yep,
everybody.
we're going to have to
Put
do
Ivy
some
in
heavy
charge of
duty.
it.
We'll blame Ivy, actually.
I pool.
I don't know, could you just
at
get
my
an
Newcastle
explanation,
back.
because that's a big change, sort of midstream.
They have been actually, staff has been talking about this, and it's been included in our insert for 2 years now, and now they really mean it. So,
SAB
and-
means it, or
no,
Santa Pro
Santa
means
Pro
it?
means
All right, it is what it is, so
Clogs their machines.
Good. All right.
That's the problem.
Of course, when they're not in bags, the recyclable ends up all over the street.
Well, you could put it in a garbage. You know, they have those blue garbage garbage with a lid. But the
My-
problem is it gets
When they-
disgusting.
my one
ends
recommendation
up all
to
over the-
people, newcomers, is very important as a public service announcement. You may want to write this down, Martin. There are raccoons and coyotes and other animals in these here parts. If you leave it out the night before, it could be all over the street. So if you want to be extra cautious,
I think technically not even allowed to leave it out the night before.
oh,
but
I don't. for that reason, but also because of animals.
Hypothetically.
Actually, I'm not going to say who, but somebody told us to put a notice in the newsletter that says that once the garbage is picked up, you have to immediately remove the cans. And I changed it to as soon as reasonably practical.
I knew who that was.
You can't immediately remove the cans. I mean, it's just, we're not all sitting at home waiting for the garbage man to come and bring the cans back in. Garbage people.
The problems of Newcastle. This is good stuff. Kaz, do you have anything else you want to add to?
Here's a good segue. Well, Joe, you done with your administrator's report? Okay, so next we have a construction update with John Kazowitz, also known as Kaz.
Hello, everybody. Yes, we got the reports together. I spoke with Hala. We're going to figure out anything else that's needed and anything else that you would like to tweak it. Where we stand right now, we've completed all the water main. Is in, done, all service connections are done. We're waiting tomorrow to find out about one little 40-foot section if they want us to test it and sanitize it, but it's offline, all finished and done. We've completed all the removal of the temporary water system. All the barrels, everything has been removed from the site. We came in and repaved all the trenches, leveled all the roads for plowing up to Pizza Station, from Pizza Station down to Town Hall. Took care of that. As of last week, well, Thursday, I think before that, we got our permit from Westchester County Health Department, which we've been waiting for 3 months. Finally got that for the bypass pumping plan, and which is more detailed than actually the sewer plan, but we got that taken care of. We started last night with the sewer services, starting that. Now, because of the holidays, they're going to be working from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., but we've been talking because I think there's certain areas that we might be able to start sooner on certain days, like Mondays when the restaurant isn't open, Lower King. So we're hoping, because everybody closes at 6, that maybe we can start at 6:30, because we'll shut it off. We're not going to bother any of the roads except for Lower King. And if everybody else is shut down, there shouldn't be any problems. At this time, we are, according to the schedule that everybody has, the original schedule, we're about 2 weeks behind on that from the delay from Westchester County. I spoke with the project manager from the LQ, Mike Nowak. He informed me that once we get onto Lower King, they're going to bring additional crews in, and they'll be able to catch up on that. It's, you're talking 8 days, but they can do that with double crews once we start doing it. And there's other things that can be moved up to expedite what we have going forward. At this time now with Con Ed, my adopted son, they are doing the gas services. I've been emailing them, trying to get it so we can try and coordinate something, but virtually impossible. Nobody responds. They just show up. My understanding now is that they're going to hit this. They want everything gone and done by Christmas. They want all things. I met with another crew came today. They just showed up today to work up on Upper King. And my understanding is there's going to be a lot of people coming. This is what I'm hearing through the grapevine from the people out here, from the crew I talked to today. And they're like, there could be 5 crews out here tomorrow, for all I know. They got to generate the one main, the new main, hook it. It's all in. Most of the service pits are in, and once they do it, they'll be able to do 5, 8 at a time. I mean, today, the problem they had up on Upper King was the 2 businesses that they wanted to do. There was nobody to get a hold of. There was nobody to call. They called, banged on the doors, they can't get in, they need to get into the buildings. That was the problem when I was trying to set it up for them to come in nights and try and work something with our closures, saying that you don't have to do the closure. We can close it for you, come in. The big problem is getting into the buildings at night, whether through the property management companies and everything else, and you don't know if they're going to show. You can set it all up, and everybody can be standing there, and something go wrong with Con Ed, and they're on a gas leak in Yonkers, and nobody shows for 2 days, and then they get to that point. So it's going to be hit. This is what I understand. They're going to have crews, and they're going to come, and they're going to do it really fast. And Kramer's gonna fall right behind them as they do them, fill them in and patch them with asphalt, because they want all those plates off the road before the possibility of snow. The ones are being recessed that they think will be there longer now, we're leaving them, they recessed them all so plows can go over it. They put plow signs and stuff up. But that's my understanding with that. With overhead, my understanding was the gentleman was here this morning, but went and met with the guys that were working up on King Street with that crew. Stopped in to talk to them, and he said to them was, oh, we might be here Friday. Now, tell you the truth, I don't want them here Friday, because that's just gonna be another set of 8 trucks with poles and auger machines and, to clog up more. So I'm hoping maybe a couple of weeks to give us a break, and then maybe we can send them down to South Greeley and have them start doing poles down there and come across. Because I really do not know at this time how long that's gonna take. I can get from Con Ed what they think, but the big problem that I've always encountered is Verizon coming to get their lines, because they're the last ones to get their lines off the poles to the new poles. So Con Ed will tell you everything and say, yeah, there we go, we're done. Then it's getting Verizon, and Verizon won't schedule anything until they know that everything else is done. So it's
I think we have a
catch.
2-pole law, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we can use that.
Yeah, but there's-
some
yeah.
muscle.
Fit.
Yeah, but there's things where you can take them out and cut them down and hang them. There's stuff we can do.
No, but I
I've-
think we have a 2-pole law, which is once notified and they don't come quickly enough, we can fine them.
Yeah, yep. But I'm gonna be on them. Once we start doing it, and I know that they're here and they start, then I'll start reaching out to Verizon to start moving them, so they can't say, oh, you just threw it on us, so that they know.
And are we gonna, hi, sorry I was late, everybody, by the way. Was there agreement finally that we're gonna change all the poles in town?
I think they have 16 poles in what we need, because a lot of them are new. Some of them are newer down by like the Rite Aid, they're higher poles already. Some of them have been replaced. So they told me there was 16 locations, most of which are right in the middle of downtown, which, we're gonna be thankful that the gas company's gone, and then I think the next week, they're gonna roll in with a bunch of telephone poles. So it's gonna be, from one to the next ones that are gonna come in.
Right.
So I'm trying to coordinate. I want gentlemen, if they can come, if I can send them down on South Greeley while we're up there by South Greeley, King Street area.
But how do you do it if the pole, I never actually asked this question, so if the sidewalk's gonna be wider in a certain area, and then the pole is gonna get pushed out into the roadway,
Yeah.
right? Because that's where the eventual sidewalk will be. There'll be poles in downtown that are actually in the roadway temporarily until
Yeah,
the
coming
sidewalk's
out, yeah.
constructed?
Yep.
Oh, so that's even another
And then we
added
can
bonus.
they'll drum it. We'll
Right.
drum it. They'll drum it, but,
Drum it?
Yeah, the drums. But the drums, the barrels around it, and if we have to light it, it depends on how far out it is. We can close, what everybody loves to close the lanes and,
It's gonna look right.
But it's,
You gotta
We have
do-
no control over this? I mean, it is the holiday season here. And I'm not talking about for the merchants, not for the.
yeah, no, I've been working with
yeah.
them, and I've been trying to offset stuff, sending them up to Upper King when certain things are going on downtown. I mean, now our gas services, we have like 2 down across from Pizza Station there by the bank. I think there's 1 more left there that they do the service pits. And I think once they come to do the services, if they come with a lot of people, I mean, it's gonna be, but they'll be quick, They might be able to get 6, 8, 9 in a day, and we'll pave it. Or Kramer will come pave right after it, and I'll be opening up swatches of area, big areas. That's what I'm trying to do. But,
Well, it does get quiet the last two weeks of the winter, of the December, but up until December 25th.
yeah,
so-
and like we're starting at 10 o'clock now and, work it, and that's what been going over with Jill about Mondays, because Mondays are good, that restaurant's closed, and I talked to them, and actually I'm talking to Billy tonight to say, if we can come in, let's come in at 6:30. What we're doing is shutting off Lower King, everything else is open, so it's the one-way shut down and all the businesses are closed. Even Starbucks, I think Starbucks is 7, but, so if we close it at 6:30, we can pick up another 3 hours, work till 6 in the morning, so we got 12-hour shift.
On this thing, it says currently awaiting delivery of HMA to remove all plated areas. What's HMA?
Asphalt, the patching, for the cold patching,
Just
asphalt.
Asphalt.
Hot asphalt.
Asphalt mix, yeah.
Okay, we'll just say asphalt. I'm just gonna use it, okay. And also, we talked about, so we all got that email on, we had that issue on Wednesday.
Yes,
with
about the delivery of
Smith
the
Street.
pipes.
Yeah, and that was at Smith Street, and we had an email from a very upset parent, rightfully so.
Yeah,
They had trucks moving heavy equipment with kids at a bus stop.
yeah, they,
Spitting distance.
what happened was we didn't know it was coming, neither did ELQ. They showed up with a load of the PVC pipe and a load of the sewer pipe. And this stuff comes from Texas, or where, I think one comes from Texas, the other one came from Ohio, but they just showed up. And I had actually left already, because I had been there since Monday morning, so I left Wednesday morning before they got there. And then I got the email, so I started making calls to Billy, and Billy said the only guy that was there was the office engineer. So when they came, he said, where we put it, we are consolidating all the extra stuff that they had from doing the water line, the pipes, to try and get room in this yard. But they had the stuff all there, so he said, well, just unload it there for now. And what I did was, I talked to Jill, talked to Billy, to figure out what we can do, because I know what the whole story is there and everything else. And whoever unloaded it, my understanding was that somebody said something and they did come out and stop when the bus was there, because they were unloading it into the lot. How, you get that story, you get. So we're trying to clean this yard out to move it, but it's just very tight, with everything down. We have all those manholes here, because everything comes in one load. It's not like you can, get half of them, or a
Right.
quarter of them, and then a quarter of them, and a quarter of them, because then you got the truck, then you have to deal with that, and it's just, So we have everything here now, and it's just,
Manholes are here?
huh?
All the manholes are here?
All the manholes are here, all the pipe is here, all the bypass piping is here. So what we're planning on doing for now is when we start, like on Monday, when we start earlier, take 4 lengths of each of the pipe and bring them down to King Street, and we can store them at the end of King Street, and we'll protect them, we'll find an area, and then that way we're just picking from there, doing what we have to do, and nobody's running to that yard to load the pipe out, because there's only the pipe there, there's no fixtures there or anything else. So at least for the rest of the time, nobody will be going in there at 2 o'clock in the morning, backing in with loaders or anything like that. So that's what we're doing for what's there now, until you can get the room to move them out of there.
Well, we got to think of something, because, it's not fair to the residents on King Street. And forget about fair, it's also, it's not safe.
It's not, it's just tight. Everything's very, very tight to try and find places. And we had spoken about it, and I might move some of it up by the fire department. I spoke with them about possibly putting some of the pipe up there to get it out of there, and we could pick it from there as we go down Greeley, South Greeley. So we're working on it, and when I talked to Billy tonight, because this was just Wednesday, I didn't see him last night. He wasn't here last night, so when he comes tonight, I'll talk to him, and then we'll figure something out to move it out of there. And then I talked to Jill about, we were talking about possibly moving the fleet cars over there to this now, if that possible, and then we can maybe make a little bit more room out here. So we're just trying to figure out, but I think if they get all them stuff, the extra stuff that they had for the water stuff that they had delivered, in case we needed it. Once that's out, I should have room in there to move that stuff.
Right, so once Con Ed is done with their stuff, that creates some room too.
Yeah, we have some room over there, and they're getting close. I talked to John Martins today.
When you're pointing over there, you're talking.
Yeah, that's by the police station, right? Yeah, pretty good. It's over there in that
right.
corner, by the police station over on Washington. Over there where they have that little thing by the, I'm getting good at this now. It's over there. But,
Side of the police station by Washington Avenue.
yeah. So, and we're trying to make room, because once we start with the water main, my understanding is we're going to start doing the drainage from the culvert to the gas station, that big chamber we have to put in there. And once we start removing that, we're removing probably half the road to get them in the two. And you got 12-inch thick concrete. We're going to be moving a lot of concrete, stuff that we have to get rid of. On top of the fact, we're going 10 feet deep for the sewers. And I saw what they were digging out today, and they were only on 6 feet, what they're hitting. And it's just.
What are they hitting?
Mud, mess. It's just a lot of water, a lot of groundwater. It's all peat moss. And we're going to be ripping that, going down 12 feet deep. So it's going to be a lot of material. that we're gonna be moving over to here. And then you get to the point where, you might have to dry it, let it dry out before you can load it in trucks to move it out of here. That all starts coming into play with that.
Where are you gonna store?
It shouldn't smell, it'll smell like peat moss, like gardening. Look at it that way. But it's
Where are you gonna dry? Where are you gonna dry it?
Oh, no, it's
potentially?
not
Where are
as
you gonna
strong as
pile it up?
manure, but it definitely has
in
an
our
aroma.
yard over here, where we're sorting out, then they sort out the concrete and the asphalt, and the dirt
You know,
goes
like
one
when you go to
place,
a
the
metal
concrete and
pond,
asphalt gets recycled.
Come out and it kind of
So they bring it there. It won't be as fast as the water main, but there's just gonna be a lot of dirt.
When is that supposed to be happening?
What?
The big culvert, the drainage culvert, is that like,
They were talking,
Imminent?
well, yeah, they were talking, when I talked to Mike Nowak, after the 1st. Like maybe they said,
January.
yeah, in January. And it's because we have to dig a big pit next to the culvert, and it's poured in place, it's like 3-foot thick wall that they have to jackhammer through, and we're putting like a 42, I think it's 42 by 28 elliptical pipe into it.
Right under.
That goes,
Right in front of the Shell station. It's
yeah, and then it goes for about 40 feet, and then we hit the big chamber where the two 24-inch pipes come that go the rest of the way up.
That's where the stormwater.
Up North Greeley.
Into the stream by Shell goes.
So at least we can get that up to that chamber. Then as soon as they cross under with the water, the sewer line, then they can take off with
what
that.
is it gonna do to the, I'm just thinking the dump trucks might leak.
From what, the
From-
mud? Well, they got a street sweeper now. ELQ
Oh.
purchased a street sweeper now, so we don't have to worry. They still come to once a week now. But when that happens,
They'll come and just tidy it up.
So the sewer lines have to go under the culvert, and then the stormwater lines go into the culvert. So there's tons of work right in that one area.
it's a lot there, and it's a big hole. So they want to get it so they can check, because we're still trying to figure out how we're going to get through the 3 feet of concrete.
So this will be
With cold bores, coring it.
all-night work?
Yeah.
That's gonna be noisy too. The drill.
The coring machines don't make a lot of noise. They're not as bad as the jackhammers. Yeah,
Yeah. Famous last words.
it is the famous last words. But we knew that. I knew that. So,
Yeah, we or I, or you.
me. I've done this enough where it's just, we're trying to get it, keep it down as much as possible. So,
People still complaining about flat tires,
oh, I know.
but they're not, you keep on saying they're not, you guys aren't using those screws.
We don't have any screws.
I mean, one person
And
was
no
in front of
nails.
Starbucks, which they did replace their cabinets, and they could be nails from that, but.
Yeah, well, because I've seen it from the gas station over here with Alex, and they came, because I told him the story, and he says, oh, I had two come in, and they had sheetrock nails in it. I said, well, we don't have sheetrock nails, we have, everything's bolted that we have, even with the sewer lines, everything's bolted. There's really no bolts even with the sewer line now. The water main, yes, but with the sewer line, there's nothing, it's all rubber sealed, and there's no force main, so it doesn't have to be rotted together or anything. They just push on rubber sleeves.
But with that, as we go into the springtime, you talk about staging, when you have 62 light fixtures and all that, then you're gonna have real problems.
That'll be good.
Brick, yard.
Oh, well, you're gonna
If
have,
you're getting
it's gonna,
62 light fixtures all at one time, where the heck are you gonna put that?
they'll probably put them over here.
Oh, you don't want those to disappear either.
Yeah, we'll probably store
Nobody's
them
stealing
here.
pipe, but-
Yeah, they'll probably store them here. And then I also wanted to speak with, about over in Jerry's.
Yeah, I think we're
up
gonna
in
have
the
to do that,
back
'cause that
up
stuff is
there,
very
maybe just to
valuable. I
store
mean,
some stuff there to see
You can have
what we
like light
got.
fixtures disappearing. Those are thousands of dollars each.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They're
Oh, yeah,
heavy
these-
also, right? Aren't they heavy?
Yeah, but people wears the wills away.
Oh, they'll move them. I've seen stranger things taken, but we got a lot to go in the sense that, then we got the traffic lights coming. I'm waiting to find out from the electricians when that's coming to start doing the foundations for that and rip up that whole intersection. So,
When are those lights coming? I'm just curious.
I think they were approved already. I know the submittal was in and approved because they wanted to make sure they were all ordered and ready.
I know even the clock's been ordered.
Yeah, all that's been ordered.
Everything's been
The reason
ordered.
if it was in the winter, it's probably not the winter, but we could technically use the rec field, and it's frozen. Have them sit on it. You
Yeah.
could even lock it in there.
They're not being installed through, they're gonna be installed through next November, so I don't know. Maybe,
You're not going to sit on them.
maybe
No,
ELQ can keep
because
on
we'll
that
have
guard.
them in before the summer, because we're gonna start with the curbs and sidewalks. This summer is gonna be,
Don't get any funny ideas. We'll see what happens. Let ELQ keep them out their yard.
yeah, well,
Finish your sentence. This summer will be.
it's just gonna be a lot. We're gonna be all curbs and sidewalks, and you need all the poles and the conduits in for the electric lines to be pulled. So we're gonna be, ripping up parts of it to get the conduits in, to get the light bases in, before we even come and start doing the curbs and sidewalks.
And that's roughly expected
Probably like March, somewhere around March, I
March.
think they're
So-
doing it.
so
Yeah,
so they'll be in by the summer, you're saying?
yeah,
Summer of a lot.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fun. That's the fun stuff.
yeah, it'll start jumping, and then it'll look nice. Then people have something to look
Right.
at that makes
That's
it
what
really,
people
it
get
looks
excited.
good. It'll bang, and then it'll go quick once we get that going. Because my understanding that the sub that they have doing that work is actually the one that did, the other town over here.
Armonk?
Harrison.
Oh, maybe.
They did the whole downtown there. That's why I asked. I met with the guy. And I said, have you done this before? With the granite curb and all this. And he said, it was, I guess,
He said, "Oh, granite? I didn't know you did granite."
yeah, it's all granite curbs.
Oh, I'm saying that's what he said. Not me.
Oh, yeah. They all got to be cut. I think they're manufacturing them now, but that's a
And
lot of that.
And the edges can't be too sharp, right? We don't want people.
Yeah,
getting
they all
frozen.
get them chipped and,
No, because they rub, tires rub on the end and they
oh,
pop.
yeah.
And we'll have to
Well, they
calm
usually
it
hit the
in.
point, but it should be fine. It'll be,
This last word.
no, this.
I'm
you-
opening a
you
tire
can't-
company here.
The thing is you just can't hit the point of it before we have the rest of it in, It's like when they run into like I said, the nails,
Temporary water lines.
temporary water lines, they run into it and they say, well, I said, I don't think it rolled out in front of you and hit your tire, you ran into it, so it's kind of, but
No comment.
we'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
If you have any questions, you know the number.
All right, guys, thank you.
guys. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Good night. Or not good night,
I know.
actually.
Yeah,
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
that's true.
because I was about 2 miles away before I got it back. But, okay.
Okay, good night.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
All right, public comment, new business? You didn't want to hear. Okay, so now we have some public hearings. So we have a bunch of public hearings.
Start with Rob.
Okay, but we have to open up the,
Motion to open up
Motion to
the
open the
public
public hearings.
hearing on the 2018 preliminary budget.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And we have our comptroller extraordinaire, Rob Deary here.
Yep.
No, I'll stand, but there's not really.
Gotta be close to the computer. All right, well,
I forgot to do your announcement.
Here's my car.
thank you Supervisor Greenstein and town board members and the assembled masses, I guess, that always show up for my budget presentations.
They're watching it on TV.
Hello to everyone at home.
I will say I heard a lot of praise of the one you held
Oh, really?
in town hall. Yes, a lot of
great.
people did
By a lot.
say it was
By a
great.
lot, you mean who? Like one person or like?
No, a number of people.
Well, that's good. My dress rehearsal was a couple weeks ago at the League of Women Voters, so, and that is up online as well. So tonight I'm presenting the 2018 preliminary budget. We'll walk through a little bit of the process that we go through each year. I'll give you the facts and figures as far as the tax cap numbers, the tax levy increases. We'll talk about a couple general budget lines and budget topics, and if you have any specific questions, we can go into that. So as I think the board knows that it's a pretty lengthy process, and we start each year in mid-July where we hand out budget reports for, we give the department heads 3 prior years' worth of information, and we ask them to kind of make recommendations on what they're going to request for the following year. We give them about a month to do that, and then in mid-August, we start having meetings with the town administrator and town comptroller and the department head, and we kind of refine their requests. And that gets us to the tentative budget, which comes at the end of September each year. In early October, the department heads have an opportunity to meet with the town board and to make their case. The town board then makes further decisions on the department head's requests, and at that point, we have the document right here that we're talking about tonight, the preliminary budget. And that was provided this year to the board on November 8th. Tonight's the public hearing, and I guess the date changed possibly, maybe, to December 11th for the adoption of this document. Won't read word for word, but just a refresher again of what the tax cap is. The tax cap refers to the amount of tax levy increase that the town can have each year. It does not pertain to the tax rate, but the tax levy itself. In 2018 budget, and this is actually my 7th year of preparing budgets, it's the 7th year of the tax cap, and each year we have never overridden the cap. The tax cap is the lesser of 2% of the rate of inflation. The largest number for 2018 is one of the larger numbers we've had in the last few years. It's actually 1.84%, as opposed to 0.68% in 2017. Also used in the calculation is the tax rate growth factor. In 2018, we had another very large number, 1.0148, compared with 1.0026 in 2017. So based on those numbers, the town could have actually raised the tax levy by $698,000, and the actual levy increase that we're requesting at this time is $219,000, about 1.06%.
So to be clear, by law, we are permitted to basically raise the levy, raise taxes on our community by up to $700,000 roughly.
That's correct, without overriding it. So the town board with a 60% vote could override that, but we haven't actually requested that in the 7 years. So yes, without overriding it, $698,000 we could have used. So if you look on this chart, I show the actual appropriation for 2017. The next column is the 2017 levy. For comparison, then, it shows the 2018 levy and the percent of change. So to derive the actual number we get to use, we take the 2017 levy, multiply it by the tax-based growth factor, and then the tax cap, 1.84%. We add any carryover funds from last year, which we had $7,200, actually the lowest amount that we've had in the 7 years. We came pretty close last year because our numbers were pretty small, which gives us the tax levy limit, $21.344 million, and the proposed levy under this budget is $20.865 million. So we actually have about $478,000 remaining under the cap. This is a chart showing tax levy information back from 2009 through the present. The blue line just shows the total tax levy. As you see, it does increase each year. The green line is the rate of increase, and you see that kind of dropped significantly in 2014, and we've held that below the 2% each year since then. This is one of the first pages of the actual budget document, and this shows the budget summary broken down by a particular fund. You see on the left the total appropriation is $39.272 million, and of that we're raising $20.865 million by property taxes. Just pointing out a few highlights from the budget. Once again, we've maintained funding for a variety of sources. The Beautification Advisory Board once again maintains their $25,000 appropriation. Town boards and commissions, we've used $5,000 again. Arts and Culture Committee has a $5,000 appropriation. And town board special projects, also $25,000. We have increased funding for consultant studies. The master plan consulting line remains at $50,000, the same as it has the last couple years. We have increased the town board consulting line from $20,000 up to $50,000 this year. We hope to use those funds for studies related to the master plan. Road paving, once again, I think the supervisor mentioned, has increased again by another $100,000, so we're up to $922,000 for this year. We have increased the operating expenses for Wallace Auditorium, or Chapac, sorry, and that went from 65,000 to 70,000. We're still getting a handle on these. We don't expect to exceed the appropriated amount in 2017, or we should be right about at that number. We did actually fit a lot of the fascia board and the exterior work that we thought we may have to bond for, because we did the majority of that work ourselves, and it was just materials costs. We didn't actually borrow for that, and we were able to fit that into the operating budget instead. We actually started in 2017, but once again, we've continued to fund the commuter parking lot project. That's a 4-year project right now. We went through phase 2 this year. We're expecting another 2 years of road paving in the parking lot. And also added last year was $10,000 for our public safety initiatives. Okay, the chart just shows the breakdown by fund of all the appropriations. By far the largest proportion of the budget comes from the town general and highway fund. About 2/3 of the budget comes, those two funds comprise that. The water district is another 0.25%, and the various other special districts. Highlighting a few of the key revenue sources. A couple of these numbers have increased over prior years. The county sales tax now, that increased 50,000 to 2.5 million. We have been on the upward trend in the last few years, and while we have conservatively budgeted that number, we do feel like we can increase it a little bit this year. I actually see a typo there, because the mortgage tax, we did increase it to 975,000 from 950 this year. Commuter parking fees, 975,000. That's where we get 125,000 per year to, we take that money out of this revenue line to fund the road paving in the parking lot. Building permits, we've increased this number to 905,000 this year. That was a result of the change in the title search fees that we have in the building department. And the concession income, this is franchise fees that come from the cable companies, as well as the rent that we receive from the restaurant and the train station, as well as the taxi service. In summer camp, we project about 461,000 this year. Revenue sources in the other funds there aren't very many of them. In the highway fund, the major revenue source is the state aid money. They call it CHIPS. We project about 222,000 in the budget this year. In each of the last several years, the state has actually increased that from what we projected, but we don't know that until usually after we go through the winter. In the water fund, the major source of revenue funding for that is the sale of water. 3.9 million projected for general water sales, and then water sales to Village of Pleasantville is 1.4 million. Refuse fund, the revenue sources continue to decrease there. We've slowed down the operations at the recycling center with regards to the composting operation, so we project just 58,000 this year coming from compost and mulch sales, and the other side of that is the yard waste, which is the raw material they bring in. We project about 55,000 for that. This chart shows the breakdown of all the revenue sources. You see a little over 50%, 53% of all revenue sources come from real property taxes. About 17% from the metered water sales, and departmental income, which would include parking permits, summer camp fees, building permits, those types of things. And sales tax, we project 2.5 million again. Okay, key expenditures in the budget. Probably the largest single expenditure, well, there are multiple lines that make up this, but employee benefits is probably the single biggest expenditure in the budget, other than personnel costs. And this year we project health insurance costs to be about $4.5 million. That covers the health insurance of both current employees and retirees. Our New York State retirement contribution, about $2.2 million this year. And for the first year with our workers' compensation, we do expect to receive a dividend this year. So this has decreased by about $60,000 over last year. Debt payments, which is our debt service on our capital projects, $2.2 million. And legal expenses for about $474,000. That amount remains unchanged from last year. In the highway fund, again, $922,000 is allocated for road paving. Salt, that number we budget each year, $200,000, and we're pretty close on that, as well as the snow removal. We have $161,000. That's about an average of what we've been spending over the last 7 or 8 years. Some years we miss it by a little bit. Some years we're under it by a little bit. Only once in the last 5 years have we had a significant increase over that. And I just point out brush and tree work. We have a fairly tree-lined community, and that requires a lot of brush and tree work. We contract that out, and $134,000 is budgeted for that. Expenses in the water fund, you see the largest cost there is actually the cost of the raw water combined with Newcastle and Pleasantville. It's about almost $2.7 million. Water plant operations of almost $900,000. That is the contract for Suez. And then the electricity to run both the water treatment plant and then the Croton backup there. In the refuse fund, the $998,000, that's the Santa Pro contract. And then the transfer site charges of $417,000. Those numbers have continued to decrease over the last several years as we, as a result of recycling more, the single stream recycling. Chart just shows the breakdown of expenditures. You see the personnel costs, 31%. Contractual, legal would come under that. That makes up about 36%. And employee benefits, you see 21%. Okay, calculating the tax rate. You see on the left-hand column 2017, on the right 2018. We have about a 0.28% increase in the total assessed value for the town. The average assessed value taken from the assessor's office has increased not much, $4. But the change in market value is a result of the change in the equalization rate. So the average market value home now in the town of Newcastle, $901,000. Our tax rate, you see, increased 1.26%. And then I just show you the tax cap and the tax rate growth factor that we talked about earlier. And that gives you the total tax levy increase, 1.06%. These are the components that make up your town and special district tax bill. The bottom light green line are all the special districts, and in that I have an assumption that each home is in the refuse district, the water district, the fire protection district, and the enhanced ambulance district. I know not everybody is, but the vast majority of homeowners are, so in order to make a comparison, I've just made that assumption. The dark green line are the general and highway fund, and the total is up top. $3,706 is the average tax bill this year, town and special districts. You see, as the supervisor mentioned, about a $23 increase per household. Okay, the general and highway funds make up about $2,568 of your total tax bill. This is just a breakdown to show where that money goes. You see employee benefits, about $629 from the average tax bill goes to that. Police services, about $630. Snow removal, $42. It's a bargain, I think, for those guys that work all night. And management and administrative service, $467. That's generally the operations of town hall here. Okay, the next chart I've broken down, and I've actually included county taxes and school taxes as well, just to show how the proportion of the town and the special districts looks in comparison to your total tax bill. And your average tax bill, if you look, about 75% of it is the school taxes. About another 12.5% is county taxes, and again, another about 12.5% or so is town and special districts.
So if you take out, if you take out the special districts, the town taxes are about 10%. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
So if we want to give everybody a 10% tax cut, we got to get rid of the police, plowing, paving, town hall, playgrounds.
I think that was a comment one year.
That would do it. And us.
And just another visual to show the breakdown there, if you look.
My.
See.
I've seen this in other presentations, and
I
I
like
kind of stole it. Well, it's 100, okay. Showing your breakdown, so about $74 is the school district, $10 from the town, $11.53 for the county, and about $4.46 for special districts.
Rob, is this going to be online, this thing?
The presentation, yeah.
That image right there is fairly compelling.
Yeah, I'd like to use that chart.
That image.
Yeah. If you can send that to me. Newsletter.
So that's essentially the budget presentation. What I'm going to talk about at the end of this, and just kind of segues into the public hearing tonight on the bond issuance. I'm going to talk about the capital projects that are included in the bond issuance and their effect, or actually no effect, on the operating budget for next year.
You're the supervisor, he can send it to you.
Yeah. No, I don't trust him.
Jeez.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You don't trust the
Can you
comptroller.
send it to him right
joking,
now,
just
actually?
Excuse me, I'm just crazy.
Vote of confidence.
I'm joking. You know I'm joking.
So I'll just preface this by saying that as we've talked about before, the effect of this borrowing won't be felt in the 2018 budget. Number one, we don't anticipate the funds until 2018, so more than likely our first bond payment won't be until 2019. It wouldn't be reflected until that budget. But we do anticipate whatever the increase in debt service over what is currently budgeted, we expect that to come from fund balance over the next several years. As you see, we've talked about this before, but we did this evening remove the Minkle Dam. There were some seeker issues that needed to be finalized in order to proceed with including that in the bond issuance. And we've kind of, we've been waiting months, maybe even years, I suppose, for the downtown project to get to a point, and that was the largest part of this bond issuance. So we couldn't borrow until we had those firm numbers. But now that we have them, and now that the project has started, I don't want to delay the bond issuance for that one project. So if we don't have cash flow issues, but were we in the situation that cash was tight and we needed to borrow money for that, we could take out short-term borrowing, take out a ban, and we could roll that over for up to 5 years until whenever we issued our next bond. So the total looks to be a little over 17 million, almost 17.1 million for this bond issuance. Okay, the last slide was the total bond issuance. This is what I'm projecting to be the annual debt service. The term over there, the second column from the left, that comes directly from our bond council, and it tells me how many years of payback on the bond that we can do for each component. Based on that and based on the formula, the annual debt service will be about $1.3 million. And I have it broken down by fund up there as well.
Streetscape only has a 10-year shelf life? Really? That's kind of harsh, man.
Well, I think those components are the less durable components.
It's granite and it's sidewalks, or are you talking just about the benches? and the-
Probably just the benches, because you have the roadway in there, so that would probably be the paving and perhaps the curbing. I'm not sure how they broke that out.
Wow. That's harsh.
So based on those numbers, I'm just going to show you the projected fund balance. If we were to use, as I mentioned, fund balance to offset any additional debt service over the amount in the 2017 budget, this is what it would look like going forward. The 2016 number, those are the actual fund balance numbers reported in the financial statements for 2016. 2017 is projected, it's $1 million lower because we are allocating $1 million of fund balance to the downtown project to kind of offset the borrowing on that. And then I project that out to 2023. And we've shown this chart a few times, and the slope of these lines have changed slightly as we have altered the projects and as we pulled out the Minkle Dam. That solid red line there is about the minimum on what we should have to maintain a AAA bond rating, and it's the number that the State Comptroller's Office likes to see as well. You see, even at the end of 2023, we're projected to be above that number in all three funds, slightly below in the highway fund. The biggest area of concern would have been the general fund if we were below. Some of the special districts are not as important, but we definitely want to maintain at least the 15% in the general fund. So I'll just point out, this is if we were using the fund balance for the debt service. This isn't projecting any increase whatsoever in fund balance based on operating activities, and we have had an increase in the last 3 or 4 years. So most likely in those years we would have some kind of increase, but that's nothing I can project or budget. So that's the end of the budget presentation. If anybody has any questions. No questions.
Just remind
And just so people at home know, we obviously sat with you before and went over this as well.
We
Rob,
have
will
been
you,
over this.
It's not the first time we're seeing this and oh,
Not the first time I'm
Budget?
seeing it.
Rob, I just have one question. Can you send that one slide to Rob?
Yeah, I was going to say it too, by the way.
I can. You can trust me, Rob. I'll do it.
I do trust you.
Why don't you send it to the whole town board so we all have it?
Yeah, I like it
thank you,
too.
Rob.
Thanks,
Okay.
Rob.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Safe travels.
Okay, so, any comments, public? Okay. All right, so now we have another public, we have a lot of public hearings to open, huh?
So I make a motion to open the public
Wait. Do we have to
Oh,
close
yeah.
this one?
Well, we don't close. Do we close it? Or no, we.
Or we leave it open for written comments,
No,
or we
it's fine.
adjourn
We'll
it? We
stop
have
it
to
on
do
the
something
12th.
with it.
I thought we'd do it again. My recollection in the past, we had it open for comment a couple times. Am I mistaken? Last year?
Yeah.
But we leave it open
For written comment, written
Yes.
comment.
For how long?
Well,
When is our last meeting of the one?
we hope to vote on this on December 12th, unless that's changed, December 11th now.
We can, I'm sorry, so we could hold it open for written comments to Monday, December 4th, close of business?
Okay, that's fine with me.
And that way you can consider any written comments on the Tuesday 5th meeting and make any alterations you need.
Okay.
Okay?
For
Is that-
December 12th, 11th.
For December 11th.
11th.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to open the public hearing on the Northern Fire Protection Intermunicipal Agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ed, do you want to describe it?
Board, there's a contract in the packet that you've seen at a prior work session. It is for fire protection services with the village town of Mount Kisco. We did receive today some edits. I think they've been circulated, but they're, I wouldn't say particularly substantive in nature. There is one edit that we received concerning an addition of an evergreen clause. So I think you may want to have some discussion. I think Jill has some comments that she wants to make about that.
I had spoken to Nick about the evergreen clause, which basically would just continue the contract on in perpetuity. And according to his reading of the cases and the comments, that we would have to put a hard stop at 5 years on that. So the contract can't go beyond the 5-year period. So Nick's suggestion was that we could have the public hearing tonight, close it, have whatever comments or further discussions on it, on those few limited comments on the 5th, and then vote on it on the 11th as well. So just to remind the board, this is an ongoing agreement that we have with Northern Fire Protection, which is Mount Kisco, to provide fire services to a section of town that's a little bit too far as response time goes for Chappaqua or Millwood fire departments. And we've had it over the past several years. It's worked out fine, but obviously we've had continued fire protection and we have been paying our bills religiously, but the contract actually had lapsed. So this was our way of taking and basically cleaning house and making sure that the past amounts that we had paid were actually memorialized in an agreement. The current year's amount was memorialized in an agreement, and efforts to go forward. We were hoping that Mount Kisco, and it's actually required by law now, inform us as to how they come up with the numbers that we're paying them. And I think our residents would very much appreciate that. We've asked for some information regarding call volume in Mount Kisco in general, and us specifically, our section of town, and how it compares acreage, dwelling units, population, things of that nature.
So even if we have those numbers and we turn around and say, listen, you're only responding to X amount of calls, which is really not, for lack of a better term, worth the dollars we're paying you, and it's a really not a fair way to look at it, because the one time you need it, it's worth it. But it's somewhat irrelevant to the equation, I assume, on their side.
Yes.
Or let me rephrase that, it's completely irrelevant to the equation on their side.
We are certainly not in a strong bargaining position, let's put it that way.
Any bargaining position.
You know, as our residents are being taxed without representation, they don't get a chance to vote on the Mount Kisco budget. It's a contract that the town
You can
board
dump
engages.
tea in the creek here.
Excuse me? But the reality is that, you know, in order for us to do our due diligence and for our residents to be aware of what they're paying for and how these numbers are being calculated.
Well, it makes sense, but you should,
At the
people
end
should
of the day-
understand that it's not a bargaining piece that we say, oh, you're only responding to X amount of calls, therefore,
No, but it would certainly be interesting to know
absolutely.
what it is that our residents are paying for.
I'm in the Mount Kisco Fire District.
Are you? Yeah, you are.
I mean, it's not all Mount Kisco addresses.
No, it's not.
Well, isn't it the village or town of Chappaqua, something, different names we call it?
Yeah, but I'm not in the village chapter.
I'm sort of making a joke on that, never mind. Go ahead.
Is there any public comment on this?
About the changing of the names and
Right,
Mount
yeah,
Kisco.
yeah, I get it, I get it.
I make a motion to adjourn the public,
I
to
hear what
close the oral comments on the public hearing and to allow written comments to come in by 5 PM on December 4th.
Or do you want noon?
Well, the only thing is we're going to talk about it on the 5th.
Right, so then how can we,
would
because you have the evergreen clause,
Right, but not till that.
So I would say noon on the 4th.
but what does it make a difference?
Be able to
Even with
read the
public comment, I mean,
comments on the fifth.
regardless, we're paying, we have an agreement, we're moving forward, because otherwise they're not protected. So
Yeah,
it
no,
is what
right.
it is, so.
Okay, yeah, it's fine.
So how
Close
about
the business is
noon, and
fine.
that'll give us time to read
Okay.
anything if we need to.
All right,
Second.
noon.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next one, proposed law regarding building permit expiration dates.
I move to open that public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Board, these are recommendations by the building inspector to clarify some provisions in the section of the town code that speaks to issuance of building permits and the extension of issued building permits. So you'll see in Section A and Section B, there's some clarifying language, and B actually allows the building inspector expressly by code now to grant more than one extension of a building permit, whereas before the code was silent on that point. There's one suggestion I'm going to make, and that's in D. We had language drafted to make it clear that this amendment is going to apply retroactively. I think that idea is probably better captured in Section 6, which is the effective date. And I think there will make it clear that these amendments are to be applied retroactively. Because someone reading this a year, 5 years from now is going to read this, and it's not going to be clear at that point why this is here. So that's the way we'll
When
deal
you
with
say
that.
retroactively, mean
Well, if there's-
retroactively to the date of the building permit issuance?
So if someone has already applied for a building permit, they'll get the benefit of these clarifications and amendments.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any public comment? It's gonna keep coming.
I move to close the public hearing and keep it open for written comments until noon on Monday, December 4th.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next one, proposed law amending Chapter 111 of the Town Code concerning snow removal and sidewalk repairs.
I move to open that public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, did we send this proposal to the chamber?
I don't think so.
I kind of think that since they're
We definitely
effective, we
should.
should.
Well, there's
That's a
time.
good
Yeah.
Because I think if anybody's going to have some,
Sure.
and we should probably
Merchants should
mail
see
it
it.
to merchants, but also the property owners. Because it's within a specific business district, it shouldn't be too hard to identify.
That's a good idea.
Does that mean we'd keep, does that mean we'd just keep it open, adjourn it,
Yeah, I would adjourn this one.
as opposed to closing it for,
Want to give it a good push?
It's gonna
there?
take a week to put them on notice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
we
think
could
we
put
have
over
to, they
on the
really need to
11th?
be weighing in on it, and written comments won't be enough.
should we put this back on the 11th?
Let's just adjourn it to
Yeah, and in the end, you're
I
right, so
just
let's
think-
adjourn it to,
Is that enough time?
We can adjourn it to, I don't think it's enough time at this time of year with
To-
everything that's.
well,
Well,
let's just
no,
adjourn it to the 11th and see.
Yeah,
what
we can,
comes
we can mail them and
No way
get
it's
the,
snowing before December 16th, I'm just
We're not
saying.
closing it anyway.
yeah, right, it's not. Let's keep it on, I
Okay,
think, December
let's just
11th.
put
We
it over,
don't have to
yep.
close it out then.
Right, okay, we'll just
That's the
adjourn it.
thing. Okay, so motion to adjourn it to,
December 11th, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we have, public hearing for the Stanwood Water District bonding.
So a motion to open the public hearing on the bonding.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So this one, Ed, you wanna just,
Well, you're going to open,
Why don't we open all of them?
well,
Oh, open
actually,
all
I
at the
think we
same
should do
time?
them separately,
Okay.
actually, and then describe a little bit what each one's about. So this one is the Newcastle Stanwood Water District. The amount is 3.6 million and change.
it's also known as the Streetscape Infrastructure Project.
It was also advertised for 8 PM. I don't remember seeing that
I don't know.
before, advertising.
I know.
It's noticed.
I think we're well past 8 PM.
Yeah,
so
but it's
we're
like, I've
okay.
never seen the advertised,
Yeah.
part, like
Noticed.
buy one, get
Okay,
one
do
free.
you want to,
You want to call for public comment?
Yes, any public comments on this?
Okay, don't worry. You
Noted.
took that very personally.
It's okay, it's all done. It's okay.
so should we leave it open for public comment? I move to close the public hearing and leave it open for public comment until noon on December 4th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is Sewer District Number 1 bonding.
I move to open that public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any public comment? Ivy, you gotta do,
Ivy.
Ivy, you gotta do something. You can't just sit there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I move to close the public hearing and leave it open for written comments until noon on December 4th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We should try to move fast before anybody else comes, actually.
So I move to open the public hearing on various town projects, but I'd like to have our council explain those projects.
Second.
Well, let's explain the
Wait till we have
projects
to
as
open
part
it.
of the motion.
Mhm.
So they're actually different projects that are bundled up in that various projects. Heavy equipment is one. That's DPW purchase. The town hall playground and basketball court is in there. Fuel tank replacement, that's also DPW. There's some underground tanks that are going to be replaced by some above-ground tanks, as I understand it. The Gedney Park Playground is in here. Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, and the IT upgrade. Did I get everything? I think so.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
those are-
motion to open the public hearing on those various projects for the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public comment?
Ivy,
Come on.
come on.
No, don't encourage.
Okay, I move to close the public hearing and leave it open for public written comment until noon on December 4th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I move to open the public hearing on the Chappaqua Infrastructure Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want to say anything about that?
3 components: drainage, road improvements, and streetscapes. We saw the amounts during Rob's presentation.
We just, right,
All right, got it. Any comment, Ivy?
Well, we have to open the
Okay.
hearing.
Oh,
We
yeah,
just
sorry, not
did.
yet,
We
Ivy.
did.
Sorry, we did. No comment.
Okay, I move to close the public hearing and leave it open for written comments until noon on Monday, December 4th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's the end of our public hearings. And now we move on to our resolution.
Before we do that, just a quick question. Last week, we had conversation in the town board meeting about the $100,000 grant and the potential for our concerns over the vehicle, electric vehicle. When do we have to have that resolved? Because I think Sabrina said we really have to act on that
Soon.
quickly if we're going to move one way or another, because we don't want to risk losing those dollars. So when do we have to have that answered by? Do you know?
I know shortly. The problem is this: if the board changes the project from the electric vehicle that it applied on, then the application gets reconsidered.
Well, wasn't
Yeah,
it
but
the
we still
electric
have the-
vehicle or the lights, right?
We approve for both.
I think we were approved for both.
The lights are the streetscape
LED
lighting.
LED.
Right,
not
so it
the- not
contribute to
Not the LED, and I think that's what got a little muddied last time. So there are two different LED street lighting projects. One is the new light posts and LED lights that we're putting in downtown as part of the streetscape project.
That is not part of the grant.
Correct. No, we clarified.
That-
Oh, no,
that
it
is
can
part of
be
it.
part of
That
the
can
grant.
be
That
part of
is
the grant.
written for the grant, so that would help reduce the cost of the streetscape.
Okay, but either way, we already have the grants. We just have to have it, the state has to agree to whether we're applying it before the end of the year, or?
No, I think it's before then. I had a conversation with Sabrina about it today. She was finding out about the details on the hybrid vehicle. The board had some concerns about whether maybe a hybrid might
But let's
be.
just say, for example, the whole vehicle idea goes the way of the dodo, and we want to use it for lighting or something. What steps have to be taken now to make sure that we don't lose those dollars?
Sabrina would have to take and submit a revised.
By when?
But why
Plan.
would she have, if
I
we
thought they
were
were both
approved with an
approved.
either or, so it was, we were
I think
approved
it
for
was.
it was an either or approval, not
I
a,
do- you
not
know what,
a
I
both
do-
project approval, because all of the money is being applied to the electric vehicle, and none of the money was being applied to the LED streetscape lights.
Right,
So
I thought it
think
was an either or, me too.
Well, can we-
The memo did say it was either or.
Yeah.
So maybe get some
The preference of the Sustainability Advisory Board was,
Was the electric vehicle clearly,
Yeah, I
but one of
know.
the things,
It doesn't
you know,
Of course,
obviously
if we
knew-
did the lights and we could save that money, maybe we could put something back into the project that we had to take out.
Why not?
you know, look,
But again, the bottom line, I guess the bottom line question I have is when does Sabrina need something from us? And
She may not need anything if we decide to go with the lights.
Can you check
find
with
that
her?
out? Yeah, find that out.
Absolutely.
Thought she was gonna get
Absolutely,
back
I-
to it. She said
yeah.
it was like she was.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I thought it was
wasn't sure
either
if we have
or.
to
It was,
by the
it
end of
was
the year. I
very
don't want to.
fuzzy.
You're right.
I thought it was either or.
You're right.
okay, well,
Okay.
Thank you.
all right, I can-
Okay, so I'd like to
Right.
go through the first page. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, so while we were talking about almost talking about streetlights, the general street lighting project, the request for authorization to go out to bid,
I had
Did
put
the
in
board
that
have-
first, it was a lot of lights, and it was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of the first I'd heard of this, which
really?
outside of the center streetscape. And my question was this part of an ongoing capital improvements project that maybe had not been included on the list?
Oh, I'm
Or
sorry.
is this
so-
an initiative from the SAB, or are they just purely looking for a cost estimate?
No. So these funds have been accumulating in the special district of the lighting district.
So what I'd like to do, Robin, you've got a chance, could you just break out, because I don't think that was on the capital improvements list? Street lighting?
Anything we were borrowing for that.
It's not, 'cause
why.
it's part
That's
of the
fine, so
special
could you just look
district.
at just give me the balances of the special,
There's about $250,000 in
Dollars.
the fund balance.
right, but I think the lights were way more. So why don't we, if you could just pull that together, because I don't think I've seen an actual write-up of what we were planning on using that money for, it just sort of arrived.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's an initiative, just so fill you in, Dawn, at least as much as I know. It's been an initiative from the SAB for a couple of years now. I thought the board was engaged in an actual like field trip where you went out and saw a couple of different lights.
Remember how you were going to meet me that night? But didn't
Yeah,
remember?
then I couldn't find it.
And some of the polls say light type,
Right, some of the
light
lights.
A.
So
But
they've
my
been trying to do a
understanding was-
public, yeah.
Yeah, but my understanding was that was specifically for the streetscape, that it was going to be the streetscape
no,
lights, and we
two-
were trying,
yeah,
we were
no,
trying to
two
figure
separate-
out what color we like the best.
No, so not apples and oranges, but just different. So what
But I
we're
think the
looking.
full scope, so all I just want is a quick memo, whether from Rob or from you,
What do
for
you-
the scope of this project.
Okay.
The planned implementation timeframe, and sort of an estimate of cost, and what it'll do to the fund balance, and if we have to use.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the fund.
Well, it affects the lighting district, right?
Right, but we've gotten, and I mean, you could speak to this, sorry. Good.
The lighting, the fund balance in the lighting district's about 250,000, which is,
Way too.
the overall budget for that in each year is about $100,000. So the fund balance is very high. So it has been anticipated for years. This is not just an SAB topic too. The fact that I believe the bulbs that we've been using for years we can no longer get them anymore. So this is something that's been discussed since I became comptroller.
Somehow it never bubbled up over here.
That's possible, but, I mean, that was always the intention. I don't have Jerry's memo in front of me, but I felt like it was less than 100,000 were the lights, because we were just buying the materials, and Dan Rubino was gonna do the work, so,
So he's going to convert them.
yeah,
Yeah, so he's retrofitting them.
yeah.
And we're going to save a ton of money on the electricity. once we
Electricity?
get that
Yeah,
installed.
absolutely.
And maintenance,
Yeah,
once
which-
they're up, you don't have
Which
to
will
change the bulbs
decrease
again.
the 100,000 annual budget for that too,
So it's fine if you,
SAB has been.
if you just give me a memo so I don't feel sort of clueless and vote on spending money before I know exactly what it's for, that would be good. All right, I make a motion to adopt a local law regarding speed and weight restrictions on Malapartis Road to amend chapters 123-17B and 123-19B of the Town of Newcastle Town Code.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to adopt a local law to amend Chapter 60, Article 4, subsection 420F3A1 of the Code of the Town of Newcastle entitled Schedule of Off-Street Parking Requirements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to approve payment of claims in the amount of $1,131,742.39 listed on the summary, pre-check writing report and detail voucher detail report, both dated November 22nd, 2017. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, November 29th, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to approve a banner application for teacher appreciation. The banner will be up from May 7th to May 12th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize the acceptance of a donation from Andrea and Denise Charney to the Newcastle Police Department in the amount of $2,087.50 to be used to purchase portable barricades to be used at crime scenes, accidents, downed trees, etc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh.
Somebody draw the short straw on the next one, but I can shortcut it a little bit.
Yeah, that would be great.
The first couple of pages of whereas clauses.
Ed, is there a way for someone when they give that donation, because it's to a municipality, it's not a tax benefit to them, is there? Is there a way, or means by someone to give to the police department and get a write-off?
Yeah, I wasn't,
I doubt he itemizes his write-ups anyway.
that wasn't the intent.
No, just as a side note.
Yeah, just as a question, whether it was in this particular case or not, if someone wanted to donate to the Newcastle Police Department $5,000, is there a means by which it can be done to a,
Sure.
for a tax
I
benefit?
think it's a tax deductible.
Is it? It is the police department itself, even though it's municipal?
Right.
That I
It's
can't
a-
speak to, but you could always,
Thought it
a
was.
donor could, I don't know the answer one way or the other, but a donor could always specify, earmark what the donation is for. So if it was going, if the donor wanted it to go to the police department, that's something we could accommodate.
Right.
But, so it's by default, it would be a tax-deductible donation?
Again, I don't know, the tax deduction status is something I don't know.
Do you think we get a big donation?
On the next one is to extend the MFPD PDCP approval for Chappaqua Crossing. And the first page and a half of whereas clauses are really just reciting how we got here, the long procedural history. So if someone just wants to pick up the last two whereas clauses and just jump into the resolve, that really has the meat of it.
All right, I will do it. Whereas by letters dated November 22nd, 2017, SG requested a 6-month extension of the MFPD site approval and work commencement periods nuke pro tunc from June 6, 2017 to December 6, 2017, and a further 6 months extension of the MFPD site approval and work commencement periods from December 6, 2017 to June 6, 2018. And whereas SG has applied for MFPD site development approval and continues to proceed in a reasonably diligent manner with respect to pursuing MFPD site approval. Now therefore be resolved that the adoption of this resolution will not have any effect on the environment and falls within the class of actions defined as Type 2 under 6 NYCRR Part 617.5 of the SECR resolutions. Be it further resolved, the town board hereby grants those 6 month the 6 months extension of the MFPD site approval and work commencement period set forth in the town code, within which such time SG must apply for and receive site development plan approval and final subdivision approval, if appropriate, from the planning board for the development of the MFPD and commence work on the site from June 6, 2017 to December 6, 2017. And be it further resolved, the town board approves a further 6-month period from December 6, 2017 to June 6, 2018. Done.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain from that one. I move to authorize the town planner and assistant planner to attend the 16th Annual Alfred B. Del Bello Land Use and Sustainable Development Conference on December 7th. The government cost for the registration is $100 per attendee, for a total amount of $200.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the expenditure of funds in the amount not to exceed $5,000 for pride surveys in connection with the requirements of the grant awarded to the Newcastle United for Youth Drug-Free Communities.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to
I
authorize...
think, wait, I don't think we should vote on 10 and 11 because I think there's further discussion.
Okay, I missed that one. And then...
And 11
on-
too.
And 11?
Well, 11, there was no...
Well, I thought 10 was
We had all
done.
week to
We-
discuss
we- we just-
11.
We just had,
10 is actually incorrect.
and 11, I think there's further discussion.
Well, we had all week to discuss it, 11.
No, we were getting some additional information, which fortunately arrived today. Not that it
That's
was
for
not
the-
that anybody was
That-
quick.
That's for, that wasn't including that salary, that was for the other, if you looked at those people on that sheet, that was for,
It was including everybody's salary.
that wasn't
All
for-
department head salaries.
that wasn't-
Conversation was broader than an individual.
Well, maybe your conversation was, but
Well, I really feel that there's a lot more to discuss in this
So then let's
area.
put it off for 1 week. We're back here.
And I saw it on the agenda, actually, I thought for the 12th, or the 11th, which is in the most recent email. So I wasn't planning on having this there.
I'm sorry, the email that I sent today had to do with non-union employee information that was requested by the board last week. So I forwarded it to the board along with the discussion for executive session on the 5th, along with the memo.
So let's table to the 5th.
Well, we're talking about two different things, though. I mean, you're using something that is not relevant to delete
I
something.
think, I mean, ultimately, there's going to be an agreement of some capacity, and I respect Hala wanting to get more information, and 1 week is neither here nor there.
I agree, 1 week is neither here nor there, but
Well, we'll see how the votes come out, and we should have a broader discussion about some of the recommendations that were included in the executive session memo.
I think we should vote on 11 and skip 10.
well, we're talking about two different things. The memo deals with 10.
Right.
11 doesn't deal with the memo.
Well, you
skip
can-
10
I'm
and
sorry,
vote on it.
so the number,
Vacation
apologize.
days, I understand, and I think there is I think this is not quite what was, if there was 3.5 days, or there were some weird numbers in there. So I don't think that actually reflects the days to be carried over and/or cashed out.
okay, I'm sorry, so,
So I think 10, actually, the information's not exactly what was given to us last week on some of the individuals. There were some very quirky payouts, like 3.25. I mean, that was like, I think I questioned that. And then number 11, I think there's,
says the
just in
new-
general, compensation
sorry, this paragraph's
is a
spelled wrong.
broader topic.
This paragraph's, I'm sorry, but Hala raises a good point because number 10's wrong. The agreement was that they could carry over no more than 5 days
correct.
and cash out no more than 3.
That's correct.
That, because that is pursuant to the CSEA.
Right, this is backwards.
Yeah, this is not correct. And the only,
These are both cash.
the only one that was different was,
There was a couple of people who were different. There was Cioli, which was an
no,
exception.
Bob Cioli was the only one that fell outside the parameters just because of his schedule this year. That was,
That I recall.
The thing, that can be switched and we can hold that over. The thing about number 11, the agenda was released, first of all, I said it was going to be on tonight's agenda. The agenda was released on Friday. There's been no mention of this up until right now in this meeting. What was sent earlier today has nothing to do with,
Yes, it has everything to do with compensation, and I think there is a larger compensation issue.
well, that's fine, you had all week to raise that, and now
I
you're
was
just raising it,
waiting to
right?
get the
You're raising it,
data.
right? You're
I was
raising it,
waiting
right?
to look at historical
but that
salaries.
data-
I understand that you want to move forward, but I
Instead of us
respectfully
bickering about it, I
request.
think at the end of the day, we've been pretty reasonable about ultimately having a meeting of the minds, and why not pause?
I have.
And one week is
I agree, 100%.
is of no consequence.
It's not a big deal. That's not really the issue. The issue, and I have no problem waiting a week. The issue is that we should be, rather than raise it at the time of a vote, these things should be raised.
So
in
let's-
advance.
No, we are given, excuse me, I really disagree with you, because we are given the packet on Friday for a meeting on Tuesday.
Yes.
And if we have any questions on Tuesday, and because it was a short week, we didn't get the information until Monday. I had suggested that what we do is we have an internal review the data, and that we kind of write our internal comments on various individuals to each other in a broader discussion about overall compensation. And some people, didn't like that idea. But I think in general, compensation is a topic that needs to not just be handed out without some sort of due diligence.
I don't know if this goes in executive session, I think everyone was in favor of discussing it. I think
Discussing
the
it.
writing part was what the issue was.
Well, I think it should be, I think our comments should be a little more formal.
Bottom line,
be a
let's stop. Let's just stop. Why don't we there's no harm, no foul. Everyone can be heard. 1 week makes zero difference. It's not 2018. We still have 2 more sessions, at least, right? 3 before the end
And
of the
if
year.
Rob needs a budget number, we can give him a percentage to put in the budget, which he may have already put in.
But so this is not something that's insurmountable.
But guys, I
Exactly.
think bigger than that, it's a little, and not trying to get into too many details, but I think it's a little disrespectful to the town administrator. I do. I think that, she works very hard for the town, and I think there's nothing really in a disagreement here, and I think we should vote on it.
I also think listen, I don't want to get into, I also think it's disrespectful to bring it up right before the vote when We had the packet was released on Friday and is now Tuesday night at 9:15, and we're on the verge of voting. That, to me, makes no sense. That to me is
Well-
what I have an issue with. I'm sorry.
Then then I appreciate the fact that you have an issue, and I will try to respect that going forward. But since the information had not been delivered, I was assuming, and it wasn't included in tonight's executive session, that I was assuming it was, and it was posted as being for next week. I was going forward on good faith based on the memo that it was for next
Again,
week.
I think we could all, I think ultimately, I'm confident we're going to have a meeting of the minds.
Well, we're not
So-
having
so-
meeting minds as far as writing out comments on any specific employees, because we had a difference of opinions about whether that was a good idea or not.
And-
And just because we don't all agree, doesn't necessarily mean that we don't move forward with the process. People can have reasons for not doing certain things. There are legitimate reasons not to take certain steps. We talked about that, and we may not agree with those reasons, but, there are reasons.
I don't see a good reason not to vote on the contract tonight. I don't. But,
I'm still ready to vote on it. I'm sorry.
I think it's the wrong
On the-
thing to
It's
do.
it's on the agenda. If you don't want to vote on it, you
That
can
is
vote on it.
pushing through something without adequate due diligence.
It's on the agenda. You had all week, you had from Friday to Tuesday to.
Friday, it was,
there's no changes. I mean, what are we talking about? Like,
I think there is more to
So
discuss.
You don't have to vote on it.
Well,
because
I
you
think
voted against it.
ultimately, for the sake of relationships going forward, Hala is not saying that she does not want to compensate our town administrator. That's not what she's saying. And she's not even saying that she's not going to disagree with what is put forth there. So instead of us voting and then Hala either abstaining or voting against, which is not, I'm sure, what she wants to do, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but she wants to just do her due diligence. And ultimately, in 1 week, we're in the same place.
And Rob has
we'll cross.
confirmed that it's not needed for the budget.
Right. Well, but either way, I do think that Jill needs to know where she's going and what's going on. So let's move it forward. But if we need 1 week, it's not going to affect.
okay, I would only
Okay,
defer.
Jill?
I would only defer 1 week if I'm voting next week, so I'm only going to defer 1 week.
No, so-
But I think it's
Yeah.
best if we all vote one way or another, as opposed to someone abstaining and saying, "I'm not going to vote because I don't have the information." That doesn't. Let's all vote, and just not do it this week. 1 week's not going to make a difference. No, I mean.
No, sorry, I wanted to clarify a point, which is, although Rob doesn't need the percentage, the non-union raises are part of the 2018 budget and should be passed with the budget.
We were going to pass the budget on the 11th, right?
So then we have. Then there's
To be-
part of the answer to your
So
But
we
it
question.
have
needs to be
everything
part-
by Tuesday
So
or
it needs to be
Monday,
part,
Tuesday.
it should be part and parcel of it. It is
So,
unusual for it not
so
to.
irrespective of whether anyone approves of how everyone's doing anything, we'll discuss it. A hard date is next week.
I just frankly think Jill has done a phenomenal job as our administrator, so I would like, out of respect, to have us all vote to approve her contract as opposed to having somebody abstain. I think that's kind of a slap in the face.
And that's in
Agree
part
with
to
that.
my point. I don't want to put Hala in a situation, or any of us in a situation, when if Hala has concerns and you have concerns, irrespective of the issue, when it comes to our budget and dollars in the town, and it's obviously an issue, let's deal with it in executive session next week, and whatever needs to be discussed beforehand can be discussed.
Well, again, I have no problem with adjourning it for a week, but the agenda comes out on Friday.
Oh, you've already made
Been
this
at-
point, I
been at-
believe,
been at this 2 years now.
which is why today's email from Jill said we would be discussing it next week.
Non-executive salaries, which is different than what we're talking about here. So the point is, as a general rule, when the agenda comes out on Friday, if something's on the agenda on Friday, which, by the way, I said it was going to be on the agenda last Tuesday, and if something's on the agenda Friday, we have Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and all day Monday, and all day Tuesday to mention it, as well as an executive session before this, rather than mentioning it as we're about to vote.
As I'd like to point out again, and thank you for bringing that up, and I appreciate the way that you feel, Rob, but since the email with the requested information did not arrive until today, this afternoon, with comment saying this would be on next week's executive session, I assumed it was tabled since it took so long to get the information.
Those are
Right,
for-
so let's not go back and forth. We're not going anywhere. We can spend 45 minutes. My position is we all want to vote, and we should do so, and 1 week is of no consequence.
Okay, my position is that I'd like to vote next week, come hell or high water, and however you guys come out, you come out, but it's gotta come to, it's gonna come up for a vote next week.
Okay, so we will
Motion to adjourn.
kick it over where we have other stuff.
Do it?
We have the authorization to accept retirement of Lieutenant Vice.
Yes,
I move to- want
I
me
think
to-
I'm the last one here. So I move to accept the retirement of Police Lieutenant John P. Vise. It's Lieutenant Vise's last day on November 29th of this year, and his first day of retirement will be November 30th of this year. We thank Lieutenant Vise sincerely for all of his hard work over the past 36 years and his dedication to the people of Newcastle as a member of our police department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, John Weiss.
Thank you. Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.